Alrighty, and we're on. So here with Joe Lopez down at Freestyle today. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, good.
And I guess, where I wanted to start was I was listening to you on Craig Jones's El Segundo podcast, and he didn't even let you bloody finish the story about freestyle.
No, because it's all about Craig Jones. And if anything diverts from Craig Jones, he doesn't like it. So he's got to always turn it back around onto himself. Very selfish man.
So I think let's start with that, and obviously I want to go back and talk about some of the other things in life, but tell us a story about freestyle, like basically where you got to before he cut you off. Was that, it was like, what, 35 years ago or something, you bought this church 5 Ks away from the house, or 5 minutes away from your house?
Yeah. Well, when I got to 40, I was just doing the nightclub scene and all the hassles and all that, and I just wanted to change and sort of semi-retired. So I bought this church here. I turned it into a gym, and yeah, that was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
Yeah.
And okay, so for people that probably don't know, so you still got the security business, or you?
Yeah, still got it.
Yep.
Yeah, still going strong. We still do heaps of nightclubs and pubs and everything else. I just wanted to take a backward step. I'd sort of got what I'd wanted out of that, and I was just looking for a new challenge, and probably more that the martial arts got me what I did get from the security business, and I wanted to give something back. And it might sound a bit corny or anything, but it gave me something, and I wanted to maybe inspire someone or give somebody the same opportunity that the martial arts gave me, and because it had given me something, I had to give something back. So, and I like teaching, and it, I like seeing people get better, and I love seeing the results. So it was a win-win situation. And the travel, I wanted, at the beginning here, it was I'd just save up enough money, and then I'd take the family away on a holiday, and it was more a lifestyle. Like I said, I was semi-retired.
Yeah.
I was still involved with the security, but I'm not on the front as much,
Yeah. And then, so I guess in terms of your martial arts background, so what age did you start martial arts, and what was the first style that you sort of...
Probably when I was... probably 8 or 9, I started doing judo. I did that for about 2 or 3 years, and then I sort of stopped, and I really got into surfing, and I was just one of the boys down the beach, and then all the boys started wanted to do martial arts when I was about 17, and all the boys joined up this the local taekwondo gym that was just down the road from the beach, and I guess the rest is just history, Then I really grew a passion for the martial arts and wanting to know and learn as much as I could. And it was a different era back then, there was no YouTube. The only way you could get information was to, either read like a magazine or get a book.
Black Belt Magazine, Blitz Martial Arts, like they're the ones.
Yeah, Australasian Fighting Arts, and there was a few, And Blitz came along later. But there wasn't the information, so you'd wait for, somebody to come out from America or somewhere like that to really sort of reinforce what you were doing was right, because there was no, at that stage there, if you read a lot of these magazines, a lot of the kung fu guys were sort of dominating everything because, they were taking the biggest ads up, and they had the dim mark and all this sort of stuff. I went and tried a few, I'm not knocking it or anything, but it just wasn't the same, because a lot of the times there was no real sparring there. It was more about, the sticky hands and all this other sort of stuff, where all the other styles that I did, they got in there and, mixed it up, kicking and punching each other, and that's what I liked, I felt that gave me more satisfaction than doing I don't know what they call them, but the patterns or katas or whatever you want to call it. It was more movement based as to opposed to actually going live, and I've always loved the live aspect of the martial arts.
So then, did you grow up in Illawarra? Or?
Yes, yeah.
Yep. And then what about your parents? So did they grow up in Australia as well, or were they?
No, my parents migrated here from Spain.
Yep.
Yeah. I was born here, and I was conceived in Spain and born here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So my parents came here in December of '62, and I was born in March of '63. So
Wow. And what was the reason why they chose Australia of all places?
a couple of my uncles had already moved here, and Australia at that stage, Europe was going through pretty hard times. It wasn't long after the war. There wasn't much opportunity, so Australia was the land of opportunity, and they were, my parents and my uncles and all that moved here for their kids for a better life.
Mm. And so when you were growing up, so your parents obviously spoke Spanish to you, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was my first language, and then I picked up English off the streets, off the kids I was hanging with.
Did you ever experience any sort of racism or bullying because you're speaking Spanish?
Yeah, it was. It was very racial when we were growing up. It was the Aussie kids against the Wog kids. So, so we always, you develop two sets of, two sides of the street. But eventually, we'd go and play football and we'd shake hands, and when things didn't go well, it was us against them again.
And so. Were you actually born as, did your parents name you Joe, or do you actually have a more Spanish name?
No, my Spanish name's Jose, but, when coming here, it was very hard for, the English, people to pronounce it. They call me, Josie and all that, and being a young boy, and I was very self-conscious, they just said, all right, we'll just call you Joe to make it easier,
Too funny. So then for you, the Illawarra back in those days, what are some of your fondest memories about growing up in the area?
Oh, well, I grew up just down on, I live on this side of the beach now. I grew up down the other side at Port Kembla, and, just going to the beach and hanging out with my friends, and, I always had a passion for surfing since I was a little kid, and I was sort of lucky that I was still in primary school, and I had a surfboard, and I'd walk down the beach by myself and go surfing and come home, and I don't think parents had let that happen because we lived about 5 or 6 k's from the beach, and I'd just go down by myself, spend the day there, and then come home.
Yeah. It's, I think about that when I was growing up. Yeah, I would do stuff like that, like walk, half an hour to the shops to go hang out with my mates or whatever. But, I sort of think about that with my kids. Would I let them do the same?
Yeah.
Probably not, right?
Yeah, exactly, And I don't know if it was any safer or it's more safer now, We've got cameras and everybody's a lot more aware. In those days, we were a lot more innocent and, things were, I remember, can't be careful because, kids are getting kidnapped here and
stranger
this and
danger.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then school, what was school like for you? I guess, did you do well at school, or what kind of a kid were you?
I found it really hard at school. And I was just saying to the guys yesterday, it was funny because in primary school, the cool kids were the intelligent kids. And then when I got to high school, the cool kids were the kids that could fight.
Yeah.
And then that was my element then, because I've never been scared, you know what I mean? I've always got this thing that I like to face my fears. So I've had that thing. So when it came to, who was the top dog at school, I wasn't shy moving forward at that stage. Not that I've always hated bullying, and it's still to this day, I guess because it did happen to me as a kid.
Yep.
And then when I did learn how to fight, it was more of I've got this thing, I'm gonna use it for like good and not bad,
Yeah.
So it's one of my pet hates, and probably why I was good at security, because I was always sticking up for the underdog,
So then, what year did you leave school? Did you finish school or?
Yeah, I left in year 10 and, I wanted to, all the boys up the beach, the older guys are all in the building trade, and they used to say, man, you've got to be a bricklayer or a carpenter, because when it rains, you don't work and the surf's good. So that's the avenue I went down, and I think I was in my second year of doing bricklaying, and there was an older guy that was working for us, really nice guy, funny bloke. And I looked at him one day, he was about 50-something, and I looked at him and he was laying bricks, and I said, man, I don't want to be this age and still doing this.
Yeah.
And from that day, I just wanted to do something else, and I had bigger ambitions, and I wanted to do bigger things.
Yeah. So then, I think a lot of people come to that realization, right? Like when you talk to, especially when teenage kids, right? And you ask them, oh, so what do you want to do? And they go, oh, I want to make money, right? And then you ask them the question, okay, so I know some guys with like multi-million-dollar cleaning businesses. Would you start, cleaning at like businesses and doing something like that? Oh, I don't want to clean toilets. And it's like, so they want to get to this end stage, but they don't realize all the ground level stuff to get there, right?
Yeah, and I think in my era, there wasn't much work around, and to get a job, it was hard to get work. I remember riding around on my bike to job sites and just asking, I'll work for free for a week. Just give me a go, and that's how I got my job.
Yeah,
that's how I got my start, And today, just owning, I've got a couple of other businesses, and just trying to get young people to work and do something that they don't want to, and you want to say, hey, you can do some extra shifts to get ahead, and they go, no, I'm just happy doing this, and I never thought like that. I always had this, I wanted to get in front, and most of my successful businesses, they've started, like my security business, I started as a hobby, I didn't start at, hey, I'm going to start the security business. It was just I was working on the door of a nightclub, and a guy that I worked with was working at another place, and he couldn't get workers to work with him, and he asked me, he said, can you get anybody to work? I go, oh, yeah, I can get boys. And I rang a couple of my mates up, and I got them a shift and did it the second week. Third week I said, man, I think I should just get, give me some money for me to get these guys. And I used to make $10 for every guy that I would get for someone to work at a nightclub. And I remember going, man, I made $60 this weekend for getting my mates a job. Oh, how good is this, And that was like, yeah, it just snowballed from there, and I think I used to make $50 a night, back then, and I was making $60 extra on top, and I remember reading the Alan Bond book and how he was successful, and he started off, he was a really good baker, and what he did was he knew that he couldn't make enough bread to make money, so what he did is he taught people to do it the way he did it and just took a little bit off them and sort of franchised out. And I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do with security. I knew I was good at it, and I said, I'm going to just teach people and get them to work. And that's how my whole business went, just from word of mouth. I was never the big guy. A lot of guys have tried to come over me and stand over me over the years, but 40 years on and I'm still doing it.
Yeah. Wow. So how did you come across that book? Were you always into reading, or was that just something that came
No, I was doing a business management, because at one stage there, the recession hit here in the whole of Australia, but particularly here in the Illawarra, it hit hard. The steelworks, shed a lot of work. There was just no work around, and that they were doing courses, and that was one course I went and did a hospitality management course, and that's sort of what led me into security, because I was working in had a nightclub at the back, but in the front was a restaurant bar, and one night this one of the waitresses was coming back, and this guy grabbed the waitress, so I came out and I said, look, now leave her alone, and the guy tried to do something, and I put him in a wrist lock, and I grabbed him and I was controlling him. He was a big, strong guy, and then the two big security guys came and they said, let him go. I let the guy go, and he's just belted both these guys, and the managers came in and he's grabbed the manager by the throat and he's got him up against the wall, and I just came in again and I locked this guy up and I took him out. And then all the guys around the bar there, they were going, what in the hell was that you just did? I said, I was pretty sort of humble and shy. I just said, look, I got a black belt in martial arts, and the next week I look at my roster and I'm on the front door, and I thought this is a lot harder than, being a waiter and being behind the bar, just standing here and talking to girls. And I actually, I didn't realise it till later, but you get like an adrenaline rush from the hassles and
the conflict.
And it wasn't until a mate of mine said it to me years later. He goes, we were in a pretty hairy situation. It was two of us and a lot of other guys, and we got out of it. And he goes, "It feels so good, doesn't it?" And I'm going, "Yeah, it does." He goes, "It's the adrenaline. It's the adrenaline." And I went, it is. You get a rush out of, facing your fear and getting through it. And at the stage you don't want it, but then when it's over, I guess it's like I always put it to a guy that's base jumping. He's probably shitting himself before he jumps, but then when he lands, he wants to get up and do it again. And I think it's that same adrenaline rush that you get. You look for it.
Yeah. Have you ever done like parachuting or anything like that?
Yeah. I always always done something. Hang gliding, parachuting. I always like facing my fears. So I've always gone out and done that sort of stuff. Yeah. Rock climbing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's parachuting's one of those ones, especially like the first time you go out and you tandem, right? You got this other guy strapped behind you, and then I know there's people that probably freak out and don't want to go out the door, but you sort of almost don't have a choice when there's another guy strapped to your back. And I remember for me, it was like I was there at the edge of the door, and it's like 1, 2, it didn't even hit 3, and he's pushed us out. And I remember looking up and watching the plane go across the sky. It's like, that ain't coming back. And the initial reaction is you go, you start screaming, and then you get flipped over and you're looking at the ground, and then you're like, yeah. Was it the same thing for you?
Well, for me it was, we do it here at Wollongong, and when they originally did it, they had this old plane where you'd have to climb out onto the wheel. So we were climbing out, and I'm trying to jump off, and the guy's telling me to hang on, he's not ready yet. And then when we did go, he started screaming, and I said, "Are you all right?" He goes, "No, it's all right, it's all right." The straps on his thing had cut into him, and it had hurt him. But I thought, shit, something's wrong here. But he was all right. And the funny thing was, I didn't have the right shoes to parachute, and the guy I was jumping with said, "Oh, you can't jump with those." He says, "What size?" I says, 10 and a half, 11. And he went, "Mate, same size as me." And he went and got me a pair of his shoes. But when he came out and got it, all I could smell was marijuana on this guy. And I'm going, when he started screaming, I'm going, is he all right?
He's freaking out. And you're strapped to him. He's the one that's got to pull the chute.
Yeah, but it was so good. I loved it, especially the free fall. It was so good.
Yeah. Yeah, what a rush, right?
Yeah, it was.
So then when you then go and decide, okay, I'm doing all right, getting the boys work and things like that, you would have had to go through this process of then actually legitimizing the business, organising the ABNs and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't. I ended up getting a contract here at the biggest nightclub in town, which used to hold, just the nightclub itself hold 1,500 people. On Saturday nights we'd get 2.5, close to 3,000 people go through the door. So it was a real happening place, and I think I was like 12, 18 months in, and the licensee calls me in and he goes, "Oh, we need your public liability, we need this, we need that." And I'm going, "What's that?" I had no idea. I was just winging it, Like I said, I started as a hobby, I was still working at a gym, and that was my job, and the nightclub and everything was just my, like I said, it was a hobby. But then in the end, I had to stop working at the gym, and the security took over everything. And then, like I said, it was funny. Then after a while, then I flipped it back. I went back to the gym, and the security went back. And again, I started this gym here not to make money or anything. It was just to make a little bit of cash on the side, do something I enjoy, give something back, and travel. And then in the end, it became a full-time job here now, where, the place is really, kicking,
Kicking goals, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then, for you, when you sort of reflect back on that, because you also got to do some pretty cool things with the security side of things, right? Like going over to the UAE and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, that was more just teaching, you know. I went over and was working with the police over there, just teaching unarmed combat and officer survival and that sort of stuff. But I'd done a lot of that already in Australia with different organisations and stuff. But I just did that for the experience, you know. One of the guys that used to train with me was one of the head instructors over there, and he was just having a few issues with the guys that were there. And he just, said, would I be interested in coming over? And the money was great, and the experience was good. But at that stage, I think I'd had, Alex and that were just starting to kick off their careers, and I really wanted to. That's where I wanted to focus. I really. I wanted to get somebody into the UFC, and that was actually my goal when I did open this place. A guy I had a boxing gym with, he said, what do you really want to get out of this? And it was back before the UFC was still underground, before the Tough series and all that. I had this place, and I said, I'd really like to get someone into the UFC. He goes, oh, that's a fair enough goal. And I had that always in the back of my mind, thinking I was going to do it. Maybe, maybe not, but, it ended up happening,
Yeah.
And I went one step further.
So then, over the years, you would have had, plenty of people come through the doors, and, there's always people that are talented, and there's always people that, maybe don't have necessarily the talent, but have the work ethic and things like that. I guess for you, are there any like notables that come to mind from over the years?
Oh, there's been heaps, especially young guys. I've seen a lot of young guys that maybe 15, 16, 17, and that they've got so much talent or anything, and then they'll get a girlfriend, or they'll get a job, or they'll move with a different set of friends, and they're playing a different sport, and they'll just move on. And some of the guys with the most talent, and that I thought, geez, these guys could be something, and after 12, 18 months, they get, I think, bored with it, and they want to get a new challenge. And, they're the ones that I've seen that are probably the ones what could have been of that person, And some of them come back to me later and go, oh, man, I wish I would have, stuck it out. Especially now that, seeing the success of Alex and everything else, they think, oh, what could have they been,
Yeah. So then, how did the relationship with Alex come about? So, was because he was playing footy, right? And then, so how did you guys get together?
Well, he just came here to get fit, for pre-season football. So I don't think he came here for the intention of fighting. And he caught my eye. Like, Alex was always a nice guy, very respectful, good kid, and. We had an open day. We had a seminar, then we had an open sparring session, and it happened right in here, in this place, because it's only a half cage now, but back in the day this was the cage, and I was gloving my heavyweight up there on that thing, and Alex was standing down here already gloved up, and this heavyweight guy from the Highlands or somewhere, who'd had about 4 or 5 fights, and he was like the next best thing to come out of Wollongong, and the guy threw Alex in with him, and I remember running down, but they'd already started, and a minute in, and Alex has taken this guy down and submitted this guy, and I went, and this guy, Alex had only been training for 3 or 4 months at that stage, maybe a bit longer, and then he proceeded to submit him another couple of more times. And then the boys sparred and everything. And then at the end, I just said to him, have you ever had, thought about fighting? And he goes, mate, it's always been, a goal of mine to have a fight, So I said, all right, leave it with me. And I think 6 months later, I got him his first fight.
Was that on a Wollongong Wars card?
No. This is a funny story because... being in the fight game, Alex comes into me and he says to me, I want, I think he wanted like 100 tickets. And I said, you want 100 tickets? And he goes, yeah, all my mates want to buy it, And I just thought, I'd heard this story that many times, and I just said to him, look, Alex, because he was a pretty sweet, naive sort of kid. And I went, look, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but everyone says they're going to come, but, you know, my experience, you'll only probably get 10 of your good friends. And he goes, no. My whole football team, the reserve grade, and they're all coming. My coach is coming in tomorrow. He's got the money for the tickets. I went, oh, this is different, you know. And even the promoter come up to me and he goes, because he ended up selling like 150 tickets plus, you know. And he goes, what kid sells that many tickets for his first amateur fight, you know? Yeah. And then I
gold mine.
Yeah. Please come back.
Yeah, exactly.
And the funny thing is, because Alex, when his first fight was at 85 kilos, but, you know, he was very short. And I remember we get to the venue, we get there before everyone else, and his opponent had shown up at the same time as we did. And we had the same look on our faces. They looked at us, and I looked at him, and I went, "Nah, he's too big to be us." And he's looked at us. He's gone, "No, these guys are too small to be us." You know, we shook hands, you know, like pleasantries, and then it ended up being that guy, you know. And he was a guy with a bit of an attitude. Like, he came out, and he was, because Alex had so many fans there. When he came out, they were booing him and everything else. They were pretty vocal. So this guy had a bit of an attitude, and he was, you know, doing the cutthroat, and he's going to do all this stuff. I think he lasted not even a minute, you know. I think Alex's first 4 fights were all under a round, you know. It was like a mini Mike Tyson, you know. Mike Tyson did like, 20 knockouts in 20 seconds, in 20 minutes. He was, 5 knockouts in 5 minutes or something like that, you know. So it was, yeah.
And so then I guess, you know, when was that sort of tipping point where it was like, okay, we can do something together, you know, like you could have a really good career at this. Was that a conversation that you had to bring forward, or was it just like a slow progression, you know, after you do those first 4 fights, like, okay, let's just keep going? Or
I could see that he had talent, and like I said, he wanted to get into the UFC. I wanted to get someone into the UFC, so we both had the same dream. We both had the same passion, and we both had the same drive, you know. I wanted to be a better coach and, you know, do something, you know. A lot of the times, you know, people sort of doubted my ability of coaching and everything else, you know, and people still do. It doesn't worry me, you know. I've put the runs on the board, not only in this, I've done it in boxing, I've done it in kickboxing, I've done it in jiu-jitsu. But, you know, sometimes it's still nice to get that, you know, the recognition. You know?
Absolutely. You know, I think that's an interesting point, right? Because, you know, I think for you as a coach, and even, you know, Alex as a student, so to speak, you know, you guys would always look for ways to get better, right? Like influences to help you guys along the way as well, and sort of bring those things together, right?
100%, you know, knowledge is power. And, you know, I still love researching and studying, and, you know, I was just over with Craig and all the ADCC guys going for the trials, and I enjoy still, you know, learning and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And then, you know, as a coach, for me, it's not to apply it to myself, it's just to apply it to my students, you know, because you're going to move different, you know, Alex is going to move different to, say, Colby or any of the other guys here. Everybody does things different. And for me, I just like to, you know, get them to use the right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
And make them better, you know, and I really enjoy that, you know.
I like that you bring that up, because it's like, I think there's a cookie cutter approach that some people try and take with this sport, and, like, unfortunately the cookie cutter approach doesn't work necessarily to everybody's strengths, right? Like, everybody has their own natural tendencies and abilities, right?
100%.
And you know, I always have this perspective that, you know, the artistry happens when you allow that person to fully express themselves, right?
100%.
And so, like, you know, when you go and say, I need you to fight in a particular sort of fashion, if that really doesn't gel with that person's style, it could actually be a disaster, right?
100%. And I've had it here with people, you know, because, you know, guys see the success of Alex and how he approaches things, but he can do certain things because of his body type. You know, people say, you know, he's short, and you know, some things work against you, but a lot of things work in your favour. But if you're tall and lanky, you can't fight like he does. You know, he's got to fight one way, and you've got to fight another way. You've got to use the tools you've been given to your best effect, and vice versa. And a lot of people don't get it. And like you said, a lot of coaches want people to fight and do things the way they do it because they've had success with it. And that's good, but I think as a coach, you can't be that way. You have to... I always go, as a fighter, it's about you. As a coach, it's about your fighters. And a lot of coaches can't do that. A lot of coaches, and I see it still to this day, a lot of these coaches, they want to be bigger than their fighters. Where me, I guess for me, I've always been, I don't like being in the limelight. So for me to sit back and let somebody else take the light is so easy. And a lot of people have taken the credit for what I've done over the years, and they go, does it worry? And I go, no, it doesn't, because I don't like being in the limelight. And if they're taking the limelight, it takes the limelight off me. But I know in myself what I'm capable of, and I'm confident enough in what I do that it doesn't faze me, you know. It phases a lot of people around me, but it doesn't faze me, you know. And it might seem strange, but it's just the way I am, you know.
No, I think that's a testament to, I think, you know, the role of a head coach is to sort of bring in as many positive influences into a person's camp as possible, right? And knowing that you don't need to have all the answers, or you might find you've got a resource that could be better for the job in certain aspects, right?
And 100%. You know, every camp and everything else, I try and surround myself with the best possible people that work with us. You know, there's hundreds of other great coaches out there, thousands of them, you know. Will they work well with us, or we work well with them? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But for me, I you know, for each camp, I look for the good sparring partners. I look for, and now we've got a really good established team of coaches and mentors and everything else that I feel and Alex feels, and you know, it flows on to the rest of the team, because, you know, we've become friends, and we respect each other on all levels.
Well, you've probably, you know, like, I think when you think back on it, right, like there was a point where when Alex was still on the way up, it was like you guys would have to do a lot of travel, you know, to get those bodies and things like that. And then Alex, as the sort of success is coming into the limelight, you know, more people are coming to you guys, right? Which then reduces the amount of travel that you guys need to do, and allows you to then, you know, elevate the room just by nature of you know, people seeing the success that Alex has had, right?
100%. You know, we get people here from all around the world on a sort of daily basis. You know, they're just fans, or guys that, you know, they're an MMA fighter and they want to see how Alex trains, the same as when we were there. We wanted to go to the big gyms and everything else. And at one stage there, we actually thought that was the only way, was, you know, if you got into the UFC, you'd have to go to American Top Team, or Winkle, Jackson Winkle, and they were the two big things when we first started. And I actually looked at going there, and I made friends with a couple of the coaches there, and all that. But then I started to realise that, you know, back to the old Bruce Lee thing, you know, a punch is a punch and a kick is a kick, you know. I can teach the kick the same as they're going to teach it over there, you know. The most important thing is the training partners. You've got to have the right training partners. Guys that are going to work with you and make you grow, and guys that are not going to, you know, let their ego get in front of them and hurt you for their own purposes. And I've seen that over the years, you know. The guys might be a great training partner, camera comes out, media comes out, and the guy turns into...
trying to prove himself.
Yeah, well, I think it's just the camera, and he might just go harder than he should, you know. And you know, especially fight week, that's where I have to be really careful. You know, things have happened in the past, you know, and you know that's very crucial. You've done, you know, like these 2 months of work to get there, and you got 1 week of just, you know, cruising, and, you know, the camera comes out and the guy has a spaz attack because he doesn't want to look bad, you know, in front of the camera, you know?
Yeah. It's it creates a different kind of pressure. You know, even in like in most training rooms, like when somebody pulls out a phone and they start recording the rounds, like it does play, you know, mind games on people.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where, you know, I guess the benefit of having a closer knit group is that they're less likely to respond to that. They know that, okay, you know, at the end of the day, if whoever's fighting, well, they're the priority, and we focus on making sure that they get the work that they need, because then when it comes full circle, when it's the other person's turn to have their time in the limelight.
Well, yeah, 100%, and we'd get that here in the early days. You know, I remember, you know, Alex, you know, like I said, he's always been a really good and good-hearted person. So he would carry a lot of the guys here. And as he was progressing, I was saying, mate, when it's your turn to fight, you can't carry these guys. Otherwise, you're gonna develop bad habits. You need to play your game. And as soon as he'd start playing his game, he'd end up, you know, obviously going a little bit harder, and the guys were, you know, they couldn't hold him down now, and he was submitting them, and he was, you know, putting punches on them, and they didn't like it, and they'd disappear. And for a long time, and that's why we did travel and why I had to let it go. Even in Alex's first couple of UFC fights, everyone went, and it was just me, and I was 50 years old, and I'm going, you can't have you can't be sparring a 50-year-old, you know what I mean? You need young guns, you know, guys that are going to push you to your limit, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, and that's, you know, why we had to travel and do a lot of the stuff we did, you know, and sacrifice a lot. We did, you know, a lot of the times we have to share a bed. We slept in really bad places. We had to do a lot of things we didn't want to do, but, you know, there was that dream at the end of it, and we had that same goal, and we did it, you know.
So are there any bad habits you should bring up about sharing rooms together and things
I've got one story, but I won't share it here.
Okay, fair comment. And I'm a little bit curious, you know, in terms of like the relationship with Craig. So how did that come about? Like, you know, when Craig Jones started to come down and help out with Alex as well, and
well, that was. I'd met Craig a couple of times, but we weren't, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't really know him, but we became close, and that during the Ultimate Fighter, you know, we were looking for the coaching team, and you know, we were trying to get it together, and I said, you know, what about Craig Jones? Alex went, perfect choice, and he just fitted in like with us, you know. He just, same as the guys from, you know, City Kickboxing, and we just fitted in with them. They fit in with us. Not like a lot of people want to fit in with them, but not many people can, you know.
Yeah. And shout out to Huge and Mike Ango as well. So good guys.
Don't even bring Mike Ango into this situation.
No? Oh, you got some stories there?
Mike Ango. Mate, you can only spend 10 minutes with Mike Ango, and I have to take headache tablets, and I never take headache tablets.
Mike can talk.
Yeah. He doesn't give me headaches, he gives me migraines, and I've never suffered from them. No, that's the thing with all of us. We never take ourselves seriously. We love the banter, and we like to have fun. You know, a lot of teams can't really, a lot of people can't even handle the way we are, and that's what I mean. You have to be able to fit into the way we are, and we are that way, you know?
Yeah. So then when you sort of reflect on that whole journey, right, like once Alex made it to the UFC, like, did you have to sort of rethink what your goals were? Because if your goals were always you want to get somebody to the UFC, and then you tick that box, like sometimes it's like you can almost become a bit lost, right, without having another goal to then chase? Or
no, because we always wanted to get the belt.
Okay.
You know, even Alex's first fight, and a lot of people say it was cliche, we set ourselves goals right from the beginning, and we discussed them, and you know, at that stage, you know, and it was just Alex and I, and so we were together a lot, and we were, you know, like our wives used to say, we're like husband and wife, you know, because we know each other that well. And the good thing is, you know, it's easy when you like similar things, and you like similar foods, and you like doing similar things. It's just easy to hang out with someone like that. And,
yeah.
You know, and most of the guys are that way. You know, we all like a lot of the similar things, and so it's just easy to get along.
Yeah. Okay. I want to switch gears a little bit because, you know, you and I, we've spoken about this story before, but I think it's I want to talk about it because, you know, It's something that we've spoken about, and I thought it was a very interesting story. You mentioned to me, like probably, I don't know, maybe last visit or previous visit, we talked about your mate who was in the church and had and these sort of issues. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's share the story, because I think it's a pretty
it
good
is a
story.
good story and it should be told. What Maurie did, it's father Maurie Crocker. Maurie Crocker. He was a New Zealander, soldier, all-round good guy, and he became a priest. What he said to me was he was in there was a war in Malaysia back in the day. I can't remember the exact dates. Australia and New Zealand have still got a base there in Butterworth. I've been there, and there was a guerrilla warfare, and he said he fought there, and when he came back, he did a lot of things he wasn't proud of. So he wanted to give something back and redeem himself as a person. So he joined the priesthood. Because when he was growing up, he played football for the Marxist brothers or Marxist, one of those things. So he said they were really good guys and they really looked after him, and that's so he joined it. Anyway, his first place he got stationed, or I don't know what they call it, where he went was a church up here at Berkeley. And if you met Maurie and seen Maurie, you would not think he was a priest. Yeah, he didn't dress like a priest. He never smoked. He didn't dress like a priest. He didn't act like a priest. He swore like a trooper. Smoked. He wore a pair of shorts, a singlet, and a pair of desert boots. I don't know if anybody knows what desert boots, but they were fashionable about 40 years ago. But
Timberlands.
Yeah.
They're known as Timberlands, like those, sandy coloured.
Yep,
leather
that's
boots.
him.
Yeah.
And that's what Maurie used to wear. He'd say mass in that, But he was a really good-hearted, good person, and he was a boxing coach. And he put, behind the church, he put a little a little gym in there. It was a St. Mary's boxing gym, and he produced a few little boxing champions and that. And that's how I got introduced to him, through Vito. Vito was his Australian champion, and Vito and I were very good friends, and we introduced me to Maurie, and Maurie and I became good friends. But what Maurie's, I guess you'd say, what he did do is when Maurie first got put down here, is a couple of the parishioners came up to him and said, the priest that was here at the church before you was molesting kids. And Maurie went, all right. So he did his investigations. He didn't take it lighthearted. He found out it was true. And he tried to approach it through the right channels. So he went to the bishop and they just ignored him. He went to the police. They ignored it. So Maurie then got the boys together from the church and said, well, if they're not going to help us, we're gonna go guerrilla tactics, and we're just going to get onto these guys and just pressuring them into admitting what they did. So it was just, going to these priests and saying, we know what you did, you're going to get it. And then Maurie ended up finding a police officer that took it up, and everybody went against Maurie, the police, and then a journalist came in and backed it up, and then it just opened up. And I remember Maurie coming up to me one day and he said he went to this meeting with all the priests from the area, and he says when he walked in there, he says they all attacked him and saying, what have you done? What have you done to our brothers? What have you done? And Maurie said, they're not our brothers, they're pedophiles. We've got to expose them, And that was the cover-up, and eventually it got to Maurie, and I guess we didn't see it because we were young. Maurie was probably my age or a little bit older when all this was happening, and he ended up hanging himself in our gym. And
Shit.
yeah, it's pretty sad, but
Yeah.
But again, he just felt let down by the people that were supposed to be backing and helping, And to this day, Vito's still coaching. He's got the Maurie Crocker's boxing gym. It's a non-profit where we help kids, and I'm the president of it. And a few of the other boys that were still there were still part of it.
Yeah.
proud of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, it's one of those things where in all there's evil everywhere,
Of course.
right? And it's very unfortunate that, in the places where, you'd expect there to be the most good and the most, positive sort of things and influences, right? That evil, is lurking in those corners too, right? It's insidious, right?
Of course it is, yeah. And look, those people gravitate there. They go to this position of power and a position where they can get what they want, and it's up to people to expose them and tell them for what they are, and it's still happening to this day. It's sad, but it's a fact, and we just got to keep fighting the good fight, and look, the majority of people in my experience that in this martial arts and that are the true warriors that will fight for the underdog and the person that's been oppressed,
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, and it's funny how the media likes to portray the martial arts as the evil part, but it isn't, Sure, there's people that sneak in there because they can see the opportunity. That's why they go into these, whether it be into the scouts or teaching or whatever. They go where they can get a power of authority over a child, win that child's trust and then abuse that trust, That's the sad reality, But, the thing what the media, and I was just reading something about somebody saying something bad about martial arts and everything else. If every kid did martial arts, I'd say there'd be less bullying and the place would be a lot better place, because once people know how to fight, they don't want to fight.
Yeah.
They only fight if they have to.
Yeah.
They can see what fighting does, and that's if you understand fighting.
And you got to learn the consequences.
100%.
Right? Just because you might be a bigger sized kid and you're able to be a bully just through size, but then when you realize that there's always a bigger kid, or there's always a kid with better technique, then you realize that, hey, if you don't know if you're going to win the fight, you better not fight.
Well, I think if you've fought or sparred or anything, that whether you win or lose, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Fighting hurts. Yeah. So if you can avoid that hurt, you do, and like, that old saying in fighting, you learn how to fight so you don't have to fight.
Yeah.
And that's what people who are ignorant or have never studied the martial arts or don't do it, look at it as something evil, but they're just scared of it and don't want to understand it. And that's the sad reality of it,
We affectionately like to call you the mayor of Wollongong, right? Just like on the side. But I know that even like in the Illawarra, like there's some of the press hasn't been always as nice as it should have been. I know that there's is it Mitch? Mitch is pretty good to us. One of the guys, Mitch Jennings, is it?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good to us.
From the Mercury, yes.
Yep. But there's there's plenty of journalists out there who sort of view it as human cockfighting or whatever. And like you would have thought that all that stuff has been banished back in the 90s, but there's still some of that mentality that exists today.
100%. I had it at one of the universities here. I had a show booked at the uni. I booked it. I had the posters. I had the whole fight card. A week before the show, the vice chancellor of the university found out that it was an MMA event there, and he cancelled it on me.
Wow.
And look, I could have taken it further, and I could have gone and everything else, but I preferred to have a debate with him about it and discuss his ignorance. I told him it's a regulated government sport where it's not human cockfighting. He said he didn't want this at his uni. He said it was like having... He used the example, he wouldn't have the World Pole Dancing Championships at his uni, so why should he have MMA at his university? And again, I said, just educate yourself, He didn't want to. He had this envision about, you know, what mixed martial arts was and what the people that do it are, and yeah, I couldn't change his mind. Yeah, lucky he retired and moved on, and they got a new guy who was a little bit more liberal, a little bit more educated, and in that sense, and he, I've run a few shows there now, which is great, and it's good to see that it is starting to get a bit of mainstream media. But soon as somebody says that they're an MMA fighter and they do something wrong, it's plastered across, the media, whether the guy's done 2 classes
he trains MMA,
or he's wearing a T-shirt, he's an
MMA
fighter, he's never fought, but he's an MMA fighter,
Well, he's an undefeated MMA fighter too, because if you never fought, you've never lost.
Yes.
So I guess on that note, let's talk a little bit about Wollongong Wars. When did it start? And I guess, what was the reason why you started the promotion?
Well, this is my 11th show coming up. I started it just to get the boys to fight locally. At that stage, for us to fight, we'd always have to travel. And I just thought it'd be good just to have it here in Wollongong. They could do it in front of their family and friends. And, it's, for me as a promoter, it usually takes me 12 months to get over them. Although I am getting better at them now. I don't think it gets easier. It's just I like to be in control of things, and when the matchmaking is probably the hardest, because you've got all your fights set up, and the week before the fight people start dropping out, and then all of a sudden you start to panic. And coming back to my first MMA show, I wouldn't have been able to do that today how I did that then, because they've changed the way. It's a lot more regulated. So I never matched Alex till lunchtime of the day of the event.
What, really?
Yeah, it was. Alex had sold a lot of tickets. I was trying to get him fights so he could go pro, and I wanted to move ahead with him, and it was just it was so stressful. I just remember. I don't like to get angry or stressed, but that really sort of stressed me out. I remember throwing my phone and, just by pulling out. And like I said, I couldn't get it matched. And I rang John from J&I. I'll give him a big shout out.
Shout out to John.
Yeah, I rang him and I'm going, John, I'm really desperate, man. I got nothing. And he just gave me this name of this Lebanese guy. And he said, this guy, if you give him... you sort him out, he will fight. So I rang the guy and he said, all right, we agreed on a price, and he said, on the condition you put my brother and my cousin on the show as well.
Wow. So
that day at 12 Club, I had to change the whole fight card. And it was... These guys came down. They came down with 1 pair of shorts, 1 cup, and 1 mouth guard between the 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were...
Had they trained?
Well, one just got out of jail.
Okay.
Yeah. The other guy had trained, and I think Alex knocked... if you look at the fight, it was Alex's first fight in Wollongong Wars, and he actually front kicked Alex in the face, and then Alex, I think straight after that, knocked him out. And... But this guy was, and his 2 friends, or his cousins, they were real characters. They came down with their full Lebanese pack, and then after they each got defeated, or one didn't even want to fight. He came up, and soon as the bell went, he tapped on the ground. And after I went, what was that? He goes, the mouth guard was hurting me, so I didn't want to fight.
Yeah, wow.
And the poor other guy that was there just stood there, and
didn't know what was going on.
And the other guy that he fought was one of my guys who was he was a special forces guy who had gone and done a few tours of duty and everything else, and he was a little bit sort of crazy guy, top guy, but you get on the wrong side of these guys, and these guys got in his face, and I just remember having to go in and separate it. I'm going, guys, please just go, otherwise it's not going to end well for you. And then I had to tell the guy, man, please back down, stand down for me, please. And to his credit, he showed me that much respect that he did, because I know he wanted, they'd come back
after the cage fight.
Well, yeah, he just beat their guy up, and 4 or 5 of his mates run up. Well, we'll beat you up in a fight, This is the type of guys these were, and it was crazy. But anyway, we got through it.
They wouldn't get sanctioned by CSA nowadays.
No, well, you couldn't sanction anything like that now, I have to give them the card the week before the fight, so it makes it hard in that sense, because people do drop out at last minute, and you can't substitute, and especially in today's era where you can just go online and go, yes, his bloods, his medicals, everything's up to date. It's not like back then you'd have to do a physical search for it. Everything's online now. You know.
Well, we're about to go through that whole process again, because we got the Alta stuff coming up alongside Wollongong Wars. It's been cool to see the people progress. A lot of them, and that's one of the things. Like a lot of people signed up and thought, we're going to try this thing. And not everybody makes it through to the end. Not everybody wants to fight at the end of it. But it's, even this morning I was in with the team, and it was good to see, just how much they've grown over the weeks, right? And I'm sure that's something that warms your heart, especially as a coach, right? Seeing people develop and
100%. That's probably the main thing that motivates me. And even teaching the kids, I sort of forced myself to stop doing it, and to me, they're a lot harder than teaching adults, but the reward you get of seeing them get better is just because they're like a clean canvas, and they get so good so quickly. And to see that progression, or getting a kid that's been bullied and watching his confidence grow, or a kid that might be overweight and again he's getting bullied and he starts losing weight and he starts making friends and his whole life changes, that is so satisfying as a coach. So for me, it took me a while to let that go, because of that reward, to me that's the biggest reward possible, seeing someone get better.
What about when they make you go with them to a jiu-jitsu comp in Newcastle and then get DQ'd? Shout out to Kobe.
Proud moment.
was that a proud moment?
No. Look, personally, I think he just got DQ'd because he hurt the kid. The kid jumped guard on him, and at the same time that Colby was doing a double leg. And, the funny thing is I was coaching a couple of the younger kids, because Colby was about, I think, 12 or 13, and I was looking after the 10 and 9-year-olds, and one of the other guys was looking after the teen guys, and I heard the slam. I was on the next mat, and I heard the whole place heard the slam. Yeah, and this kid was out for a while. Yeah, it was a good slam.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we'll wrap it up very shortly, but I want to ask you one other question, another change of topic. But are we able to talk about the support of your wife and throughout all this as well, just in terms of relationships? Like, I think that's a pretty valuable thing, when you've got a good support network at home, right?
Yeah, I really like to keep my private life private. I don't,
that's good.
And I've always been that way. And a lot of the things it's just been, especially doing security, and when I was doing security for a while, it was a different era, and a lot of threats were made. A lot of people, came looking, and I've always wanted, and I've still got it there, that I don't post anything about my family, and I do anything, and it's just something that I guess it got put into me at a young age when I first started doing it. The less I expose of myself, the less that anybody can hurt me, and that's the way I live to this day. I live by the sword, and I die by the sword. And
very cool.
And a lot of the times I can't help myself. If I see something, or I see something I don't like, I've got to call it out. It's very hard for me to hold my emotions in, and everybody will know, you know, if I've got a problem with someone, I have to address it, and sometimes it doesn't go well, and sometimes, not so much anymore, but I've still got that in me where I don't like to expose that side of me, because they know they can't hurt me, so they'll go and hurt the things that I love, so I don't want to put them on the line ever, you know. Yeah. And that's just the way I am, you know. 60 years old, it's very hard to change now.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, you know, as the last little talking point, then, you know, you probably would have experienced, you know, plenty of people, especially in the security game, right, trying to hold things over you or potentially not hold things over you, but like, you know, want to compete for the business.
Look, and like I said, it was a different era, and you know, we had to do a lot of different things, and you know, sometimes it wasn't pretty, you know, and you know, all I can say is I'm still here, you know.
Touch wood. All right, well, we'll wrap it up. Can you give us some kind of a sign off in Spanish? Just because I think it's amazing that you can speak Spanish still.
I don't know what to say.
Just say thanks everybody for watching. And
muchas gracias por ver este programa, y el Johnny es un maricón.
wonderful. All right, thanks everyone.
See ya.
See ya.